Trapped by the storm, the sky roared with thunder and cold rain poured down like bullets. The ground turned to mud as the storm grew stronger. Nathan, a young human man, ran through the thick trees of an alien forest, his clothes soaked and his boots sinking into the wet earth. He had been out exploring far from his camp when the sudden downpour trapped him. He didn't know where he was anymore. Everything looked the same: dark trees, slippery rocks, and no path back. Then he saw a small opening in the side of a rocky hill, a cave. Without thinking, Nathan rushed inside, breathing hard. The sound of the rain softened behind him. Inside, the cave was dry and warm compared to outside. He shook the water from his jacket and stepped further in, using the flashlight on, his wristband. The beam of light hit the cave walls, stone, moss, a few broken bones of small animals. It looked abandoned. But then, he heard something. A soft sound. A whimper. Like someone crying. Or in pain. Nathan froze. He pointed the light toward the sound. In the back corner of the cave, almost hidden behind some rocks, he saw a figure, curled up, shaking, and next to it something smaller. He stepped closer slowly. The light showed more detail now. It wasn't human. It was a woman. An alien woman. Her skin was a light silver blue, glowing faintly under the light. Her eyes were large, filled with fear. She covered a small child with her thin arms. The child didn't move. Nathan raised both his hands in peace. "Hey, I'm not here to hurt you." The alien woman flinched. She pushed her back against the wall and hugged the child tighter. Her clothes were torn, and her body looked weak, like she hadn't eaten in days. Nathan's heart tightened. She was starving. So was the child. He slowly sat down a few feet away, trying not to scare her. From his backpack, he took out a protein bar. He unwrapped it, broke it in half, and gently slid one piece toward her on the ground. She didn't move. He took a bite from his own half to show her it was safe. Then he placed the rest on the ground and stayed quiet. After a minute, the woman reached forward. Quickly, like an animal afraid of being caught. She grabbed the bar and pulled it back. She sniffed it, then gave it to the child. The child, slowly, took a bite, then another. Then the whole piece was gone. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Nathan smiled. "You're welcome." She didn't understand the words, but maybe she understood the kindness. He took off his jacket and offered it. She didn't take it, but he left it on the ground between them. The storm outside grew louder. Lightning flashed through the cave, entrance lighting up their faces for a moment. Nathan saw a fresh wound on her leg, red and swollen. What happened to her? Why was she here? Why alone? He wanted to ask, but he knew she couldn't answer. Not in words. Instead, he pointed to himself and said, "Nathan." She stared at him. He repeated it. "Nathan." She blinked slowly. Then she pointed to herself and said something in her language. He couldn't understand it, but he nodded. "Okay, I'll call you Star," he whispered to himself, "because you don't look like you belong to this planet." The child was asleep now, head resting on her lap. The woman looked down at her baby with a sad, soft expression. Nathan leaned back against the wall, sighing. He had just wanted to escape the storm, but what he found was something else, something strange, sad, and maybe, just maybe, meant to happen. As the thunder echoed through the sky and the cold night settled in, 3 strangers sat inside a lonely cave, a human, an alien mother, and her silent child. None of them spoke the same language, but all 3 had the same need: safety, warmth, and a reason to survive another day. Eyes full of fear. The cave was quiet. Too quiet. Nathan had barely slept. His back ached from the cold stone floor, but what truly kept him awake was the feeling of being watched. Every time he shifted or moved, he saw her eyes. The alien mother, wide, unblinking, full of fear. She hadn't moved much since last night. She still held her child close, as if expecting someone to come and take her baby away. Nathan didn't blame her. Whoever left her like this didn't want her to survive. But she was alive, because of him. Nathan slowly sat up, careful not to startle her. The rain outside had turned to a soft drizzle, but the sky was still dark. He turned on his flashlight again, keeping the light low. The alien mother flinched, shielding her child with her body. "It's okay," he said gently. "Just me again." Of course, she didn't understand the words, but maybe his tone helped. A little. She didn't move away this time. Her breathing stayed fast, sharp, like someone constantly expecting danger. Nathan reached into his pack. He had one more protein bar left. He opened it, took a small bite, and laid the rest near her again. This time she didn't wait long. She snatched it up and split it with the child. They ate in silence, chewing slowly, like they hadn't tasted food in weeks. Nathan watched her closely now. Not with fear, with curiosity. Her face was thin, the bones sharp. Her skin, pale and cracked, looked like it once shimmered with beauty. Her hair, silver and soft, was messy and tangled. She looked like someone who had once belonged to a powerful world and then lost everything. Her eyes met his. He smiled, trying to be calm, but the fear in her gaze stayed. It wasn't just hunger or pain. It was something deeper. She didn't trust him, not yet, but she hadn't run either. That was something. Nathan decided to try again. He picked up a small rock and drew a circle in the dirt beside him. Then he pointed to himself. "Nathan." He drew another circle, a little smaller. He pointed. To her, raising an eyebrow, she stared at the drawing, at him. Then slowly, she pointed at herself. "Kira," she said in a quiet, broken voice. Nathan smiled wide. "Kira. Okay. You're Kira." She nodded once, eyes still wary. Then she pointed to the child. "Limi. Limi," Nathan repeated softly. "Your daughter?" Kira tilted her head. She didn't answer, but her hand stroked the girl's hair. Lemmy was still asleep. Her tiny chest rose and fell softly. Nathan's voice dropped low. "What happened to you, Kira?" He didn't expect an answer, but she surprised him. Kira placed a hand over her mouth and pointed away, toward the outside. She touched her chest, then made a slashing motion across her heart, then pointed at Lemmy and raised her shoulders in a helpless shrug. Nathan understood. Only one thing. They had been abandoned, left to die, maybe because of the child, maybe because Kira had disobeyed some cruel law, and now they were hiding, starving, afraid. A gust of wind entered the cave, making the fire flicker. Kira suddenly stiffened. Her head turned fast, listening. Nathan paused. Then he heard it too. Crunch, soft sound, like something stepping on wet leaves outside the cave. Someone was out there. Kira grabbed Lemmy and pressed herself into the shadows, eyes wide in terror. Nathan grabbed a rock and stood near the entrance, heart pounding. Silence. Then, another crunch. He switched off his light. Whoever was out there was close, maybe hunting, maybe tracking. Nathan whispered, "Stay hidden," though he knew she couldn't understand. He waited near the mouth of the cave, body tense, eyes focused. A dark shape moved outside, then paused, but it didn't enter. A few seconds passed, then the shape slowly walked away. Nathan exhaled deeply. His heart still raced. He turned back to Kira. She was still frozen, clutching Lemmy like a shield. Her eyes met his again, and this time, they were still afraid, but not of him. They were afraid of what was coming. The language of hunger morning came slow and gray. The sky outside was still cloudy, but the rain had stopped. Inside the cave, the air was damp, cold, quiet. Nathan sat near the fire he had built from dry sticks. It crackled softly, its light casting dancing shadows on the walls. Across from him, Kira sat with her back to the stone. She hadn't slept. Her eyes were still alert, watching him. Watching everything. Lemi, the child, was awake now too. She was so thin her ribs showed. Her skin had a strange bluish tone, and her hair was matted and dry. But she stared at Nathan with wide, curious eyes. Nathan tried to smile at her. She didn't smile back, just tilted her head. He reached into his bag again. Nothing left now. Just a tiny pack of dried fruit. He opened it and poured half into his hand. Slowly, he held it out. Lemi looked at Kira. The mother nodded. Just a small motion. Lemi crawled over and gently took the fruit from Nathan's palm. Her little fingers trembled. She placed the food in her mouth like it was treasure. Nathan felt a strange twist in his chest. This wasn't hunger. This was survival. He reached for a stick and scratched a few shapes on the dirt. A star, a moon, a stick figure. Kira watched him closely, unsure. Then he pointed at her. Kira. He pointed at himself. Nathan. She understood this part. She gave a slow nod. Then he tapped the stick figure and drew a circle around it. Home, he said. She stared. He drew two figures side by side, one tall, one small. He pointed to her and Lemi. Family. Kira blinked. Her lips parted slightly as if trying to form a word, but nothing came out. Instead, she reached forward and took the stick from him. She drew something. Not shapes. Just a rough swirl. A spiral. Then she crossed it out. Nathan didn't understand. She pointed at the spiral, then to herself. Her eyes filled with something more than fear this time. Shame. Pain. Then she wrote a symbol beside it, one she drew carefully with shaking fingers. It looked like a symbol. Maybe a letter? Maybe her people's word for something? She placed her hand on it, then touched her chest. Nathan whispered, "Is that what they called you?" Her eyes dropped. She didn't speak. He didn't know what the word meant, but it felt like a curse. Lemi suddenly coughed, a dry, harsh sound. Her small body shivered. Nathan looked at her, concerned. She needs water, real food. Kira nodded slightly as if reading his thoughts. He stood, looked toward the cave entrance. I'll find something. But Kira stood too, fast. She grabbed his arm, her grip weak but tight. Danger, she said. The word was shaky, broken, but real. He turned to her, surprised. You speak English? She lowered her eyes. Little. Words. Nathan gave her a reassuring smile. It's okay, that's enough. He gently placed a hand over hers. You stay, I go, just look, no fight. She hesitated, then let go. Before leaving, Nathan pulled off his scarf and wrapped it around Lemi's shoulders. The child looked up at him with something new in her eyes. Trust. He turned and stepped out into the forest. The trees were wet, heavy with dew. The ground was soft. Nathan moved slowly, eyes scanning for movement, ears tuned for sound. Every broken branch felt louder than it should. He found a bush with some alien fruit, round, orange, bitter-smelling. He didn't know if they were safe, but he'd seen small animals eating them. He picked a few and turned back. As he returned to the cave, a chill ran through him, a mark on a tree trunk, deep claw lines. Fresh. Someone, or something, had passed through. He hurried back, heart pounding. Inside the cave, Kira looked up as he entered. She relaxed only slightly when she saw him alone. He gave her the fruit. She sniffed it, broke one open, tasted it carefully, then nodded. It was edible. They all ate in silence. Nathan watched them. This wasn't just about food. This was communication, trust, a new language, not made of words, but of actions, of kindness, of survival. and somewhere deep inside, a quiet bond was starting to grow. Footsteps in the rain. By the time the sun dipped behind the mountains, the air outside had turned strange, heavy, like the forest was holding its breath. Nathan sat at the mouth of the cave, sharpening a stick with a rock. His mind kept returning to the marks on the tree he saw earlier, those deep, fresh claw scratches, not made by animals. Something was watching them. Inside the cave, Kira tried to calm Lemmy, who had started coughing again. The child's breath was shallow, and she hadn't spoken a word since Nathan had met them. Kira dipped a cloth in a small, metal bowl of rainwater and pressed it to the girl's forehead. Her hands were shaking. Nathan walked over quietly and knelt beside them. "She needs help soon." Kira nodded. "Medicine, gone." "You had medicine?" "Small bottle," she whispered, her English broken but clear. "Soldiers, they took it." Nathan's brow tightened. "Soldiers?" Kira's jaw clenched. She didn't explain. She didn't have to. Nathan stood, his heart pounding harder now. Whoever these soldiers were, they weren't rescuers. They were the reason she was here, hiding, starving, terrified. That night, as they all sat in silence, the rain returned, soft at first, then stronger, then something else. Crunch. Nathan's ears perked up. It wasn't the rain. He rose quietly and walked to the entrance of the cave, peeking outside. Nothing, just trees swaying, raindrops falling. But then, another crunch. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, careful. Nathan's spine stiffened. He turned back toward Kira. She already had Lemmy in her arms, crouched low behind a rock. She knew that sound too, the sound of being hunted. Nathan motioned for silence, then grabbed the sharp stick he had carved earlier. His heart pounded in his chest like war drums. Snap. A branch broke just outside. Nathan flattened his back against the cave wall, listening. Then, a voice. Low. Rough. Speaking a language he didn't know. Then another voice responded. Two of them. Maybe more. Nathan looked at Kira. Her eyes begged him not to move, but he stepped closer to the entrance, crouched low, eyes scanning. Suddenly, a flashlight beam cut through the trees. It swept across the ground, moving slowly, searching. It stopped near the cave entrance. Nathan held his breath. The light disappeared. Footsteps approached. Then a shadow blocked the light from the trees. One of them was just a few feet from the cave now. Nathan gripped the stick tighter. Then, a voice. She has to be nearby. In broken English, Nathan's heart sank. They were looking for her, Kira, for Lemmy, and they were close. He turned to her. She was crying silently now, holding Lemmy so tight her knuckles were white. Then, another voice. Search. The cave. Nathan's mind raced. If they came in, there'd be no time to think, no time to talk. He had to act. Now. He grabbed his backpack and threw a rock deep into the woods behind the cave. Crash. The sound echoed loud through the forest. The shadows froze. One shouted, "Over there!" Footsteps sprinted away from the cave. Chasing the noise, Nathan rushed to the back of the cave where Kira and Lemmy hid. Come now, fast. Kira hesitated, then followed. There was a narrow crack at the back of the cave wall, just big enough to crawl through. Nathan had noticed it earlier. He hadn't thought much of it. Now, it was their only chance. He crawled through first. Sharp, rocks scraped his arms, but he didn't stop. On the other side was a narrow tunnel, tight and dark, but it led to a small, open hollow underground. Kira crawled through next, cradling Lemmy carefully. They sat in silence, listening. Back in the main cave, they heard boots stomping, flashlights moving, voices shouting, "Nothing! They're gone!" Nathan held his breath. Kira didn't even blink. After a few minutes, the voices faded. The soldiers left, but Nathan didn't move. They waited in that hidden hollow for hours, listening to the silent. Then the wind. then the rain again. Finally, Kira looked at Nathan. She spoke, barely above a whisper. You protect. He looked at her. Yeah, I protect. She touched his shoulder gently. Why? Nathan looked down, then at Lemmy, still asleep in her mother's arms. Because no one else will, he said softly. And because you shouldn't have to beg to be alive. Kira's eyes shimmered, not with fear this time, with something else, something like hope. The protector hours passed. The cave was quiet again, but the tension hadn't left. Nathan stayed alert near the entrance while Kira and Lemmy rested in the shadows, their backs against the cave wall. The small fire had died out, and Nathan didn't dare relight it. Light could attract them again, the ones hunting her. He replayed last night over and over in his head. The voices, the boots, the orders. They were close, organized, and they would return. Kira shifted, her eyes fluttering open. Nathan, she whispered. He turned toward her. You stay. Still here. He gave a tired smile. I'm not leaving. She sat up slowly, placing Lemmy down with care. The child was sleeping better now. Her breath had steadied. Her skin had some color again. Nathan noticed something different in Kira's voice. It no longer shook like before. Her hands weren't trembling either. For the first time, she looked him in the eyes without fear. She spoke again. I was soldier before. Nathan blinked. You? Kira nodded slowly. Elite scout, fighter, but I broke rule. Protected. Wrong child. My child. His chest tightened. They punished you for that? She nodded once. Said child is defective. Said I bring shame. Her jaw clenched. I ran. Hid. Many months. But they find us. Nathan stepped closer and knelt down in front of her. Not here, they won't get her or you. Kira looked at him for a long moment. Why do you care? He paused. The words didn't come easy. I've seen people thrown away before. Not aliens. Humans. Back on Earth. I was one of them once. She tilted her head. Curious. My parents died. I was alone. Street kid. No one looked twice at me unless they wanted to take something. I survived. But barely. And now, I can't just watch it happen again. She reached out, slowly, and touched his shoulder. You are strong. Nathan smiled a little awkwardly. Tell that to my bruised ribs. She didn't understand the joke, but her lips curved slightly. A smile. Her first. But the peace didn't last. The next evening, just as Nathan returned from gathering water, he spotted something hanging from a tree near the path. A torn piece of black cloth military-grade alien script printed on it. He froze. It hadn't been there this morning. Someone had passed through. He ran back toward the cave, heart pounding. Every branch, every leaf felt like a trap. When he arrived, Kira was already outside, crouched low, holding a sharp bone like a knife. You saw them too? He asked. She nodded. They are watching. Nathan clenched his jaw. They're close. Too close. He scanned the area. They couldn't stay here. But leaving now in the open was worse. We have to make them think you're not here anymore, he said. Kira tilted her head. How? Nathan looked around. Then he saw it. A ridge above the cave, lined with stones and loose dirt. If they stepped into the wrong place, it could collapse. Trap someone. He grabbed the sharp stick and started digging, setting up pressure. Points. What are you doing? Kira asked. He looked up. Buying us time. She knelt beside him and started helping without another word. Together, they built a simple but deadly trap. It wouldn't stop all of them, but maybe one. When they Finished, Nathan placed signs of a struggle around the cave, drag marks, torn cloth, blood from a small scratch on his arm. A fake story for the eyes watching from the trees. As night fell, they waited in silence. Hours passed. Then, voices, closer than ever. Kira pressed her back to the wall, holding Lemmy close. Nathan crouched low, holding a sharp stick and his breath. Then, crack, a scream. Followed by shouts their trap had worked. "They're in the cave," a voice shouted in alien tongue. "They were here. Find them." Nathan grabbed Kira's hand and pulled her toward the secret tunnel again, but this time, they didn't hide. They moved through the hollow chamber and came out into the forest using a back opening Kira had spotted the night before. Rain began to fall again as they ran into the trees. Behind them, angry voices echoed through the cave. But the three of them didn't stop. They ran, far from the cave, far from the hunters, far into the forest where only darkness and survival lived. And somewhere between the thunder and footsteps, Nathan realized something. He wasn't just protecting them anymore. He was fighting for them, like family. Her first words. The forest was still. Nathan, Kira, and Lemmy sat beneath the roots of a giant fallen tree, its trunk hollowed by time and rot. Rain dripped softly from the leaves above, but here, it was warm, safe, quiet. For now. They had run all night. Nathan's legs ached, his breath burned in his lungs, and a long cut bled slowly down his arm where a branch had scraped him. But none of that mattered. They had escaped. Kira sat with her back against the tree wall, Lemmy cradled in her arms. The child had fallen asleep again, her small hand curled around the edge of Nathan's jacket, which now covered her tiny body. Nathan was trying to start a small fire without smoke. He wasn't sure how long they had. Maybe hours, maybe minutes. But something in his chest told him they needed this moment. He struck the flint again. The spark caught. Warmth. Kira watched him from across the flame. Her silver-blue skin looked golden in the firelight. Her face was softer now, like some weight had finally lifted. Nathan finally sat down beside her. He didn't speak. She didn't either. For a while, there was only the crackle of flame and the sound of soft breathing from the child between them. Then, out of nowhere, Kira whispered something. Nathan barely heard it. "Thank you." He blinked and turned his head. "What did you say?" She looked down, her voice small. "I said, thank you." Nathan just stared at her. Not because of what she said, but because it was the first time she said something clearly. Not broken. Not in pieces. It was English, and it was fluent. "You understand more than you let on," he said, almost smiling. Kira gave the smallest nod. "I was trained. Federation language classes. Years ago. I forgot much. Then, remembered." Nathan leaned back against the wood, exhaling deeply. "You could have told me." "I didn't trust you," she said simply. "Do you now?" Kira didn't answer immediately. Then she spoke again. "You stayed. You fought. You bled." She turned toward him, meeting his eyes. "No one has ever done that. Not for me. Not for her." Nathan's voice dropped to a whisper. "You're not just some alien to me, Kira." Silence. Then she asked, "What am I then?" He paused, eyes flickering to the fire. "I don't know. Maybe you're what I needed to find. Maybe I was meant to be in that cave when the storm hit." Kira lowered her head, thoughtful. Nathan glanced at Lemmy. "She's special. I can feel it." Kira touched her daughter's cheek softly. "They said she is broken. Weak. Her blood is but not pure." Nathan's brow furrowed. "What does that even mean?" "She was born with a heart defect. Something that doesn't exist in my people. They rejected her, like trash. Called her a curse." She looked up, firelight glowing. "In her eyes, but she laughs, she feels, she loves, that is no curse." Nathan nodded, jaw tight. "Then they're the ones who are broken." They sat in silence again. The rain had slowed. Lemmy stirred, murmuring something in her sleep. Kira gently rocked her. Nathan watched them. "You know," he said, voice soft, "I used to think survival was about keeping your head down, staying quiet, taking care of yourself." He looked at Kira. "But now I think it's about choosing who you'd die for." Kira met his gaze, and for the first time since he met her, she smiled. Not a flicker, not half-hearted, a real, small, glowing smile. Then, without warning, she leaned over, just slightly, and rested her head against his shoulder. Nathan froze. His heart skipped. She whispered, "You don't have to speak. Just stay." So he did. He stayed. He didn't talk, he didn't move. He just sat there, letting the warmth of the fire and her trust settle into the quiet space between them. For the first time in what felt like forever, the night wasn't full of fear. It was full of peace, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something worth protecting. A new dawn. The forest was waking up. Golden light spilled through the trees as morning broke over the alien world. Birds, strange ones with silver feathers, sang softly in the branches. The rain had stopped, the clouds were gone, and inside the bow, hollow tree trunk, 3 lives were quietly changing. Nathan opened his eyes. His body ached, his muscles stiff, but for the first time in days, there was no fear waiting for him. Kira was still asleep beside him, her head resting gently on his shoulder. Lemmy was curled up between them, a small smile on her lips as she dreamed. Nathan didn't move. He just sat there, breathing in the soft air, watching the light crawl across the mossy forest floor. Something had changed. Not outside. Inside him. He had come to this world alone. A traveler, a wanderer, with no home, no direction, just missions and checklists and survival. But now, he had a reason to stay. Kira stirred. She opened her eyes slowly, blinking at the light. When she saw him awake, she gave a soft smile, the kind only shared between people who had survived something together. "Morning," Nathan said. She looked up at the sky, golden light dancing in her silver eyes. "Beautiful." He nodded. "Yeah, you are." He caught himself, looked away. Kira tilted her head slightly, amused. "What?" Nathan rubbed the back of his neck. "I meant the view, the forest, it's nice." She didn't respond, just smiled again, wider this time. Then she looked down at Lemmy. "She is stronger today." Nathan nodded. "She's healing." Kira's voice grew quiet. "Because of you?" "No," he said. "Because of you. You never gave up on her." Kira lowered her gaze. "I almost did, in that cave when I had nothing left. I thought of giving her to the cold, just letting go." She looked up at him, eyes filled with something deep. "But then you came, a stranger, a human, and suddenly, we were not alone." Nathan took a deep breath. "I think we were both meant to be in that cave. Maybe the storm was just the universe pulling 2 broken people into the same shelter." She gave him a soft look. 3. He smiled. 3. They sat like that for a while, quiet, close, breathing the same fresh air. Then Lemmy woke. She sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes. Nathan waved. "Good morning, little warrior." Lemmy blinked. Then, she smiled. A real one. It was small, tired, but full of light. Kira gasped softly. First smile in weeks. Nathan held out his hand to her. She placed her tiny hand in his, and just like that, the world felt whole again. By afternoon, they had started walking. No more hiding, no more running. They didn't know exactly where they were going, but Nathan had a plan. There was a human outpost 2 days south, a neutral zone. If they could reach it, they might be safe. For real this time. But this wasn't just escape anymore. This was rebuilding. As they walked through tall grass and over mossy hills, Nathan taught Lemmy little earth phrases. Sun, tree, sky. She repeated them in a soft voice, giggling when she got them wrong. Kira watched with wide, warm eyes. Once, Nathan stumbled and Kira caught his arm. You protect us. Now, I protect you, she said with a proud smirk. They walked like that, sometimes talking, sometimes silent. And, somewhere along that endless green path, they started to look like a family, not by blood, but by choice, by pain, by love born in the middle of fear. That night, they camped near a river. The stars above sparkled in colors Nathan had never seen on Earth. Purple constellations, blue moons. Kira lay beside him, Lemmy asleep between them, curled under a makeshift blanket. Nathan stared at the sky. Kira? Yes? What happens now? She thought for a moment. Now, we live. He nodded slowly. And after that? She smiled. We teach her to be strong. He turned to look at her. She already is. Kira looked down at her daughter, then back at him. So are you. Nathan didn't respond. He just stared at her sharp jawline, her soft silver-blue skin, the scars on her hands, the kindness in her voice. He reached out slowly, uncertain, and brushed a loose strand of hair from her face. She leaned into his hand. Not out of need, out of choice. Out of something stronger than fear, he whispered. I won't leave. Not now. Not ever. I know, she said. Then she leaned in and gently touched her forehead to his. It wasn't a kiss. It was something deeper. A bond. Sacred. Unbreakable. And when the sun rose again, it didn't just mark a new day. It marked a new beginning. For Nathan, the lost human wanderer. For Kira, the exiled mother with fire in her veins. And for Lemmy, the little girl who once had nothing, but now had everything. A protector, a family, a future. And no matter what came next, they would face it. Together.